Welcome back. Okay, we're going to mess with this shank a little bit. Before beginning, I wanted to show you the results of the squaring off of the end of it. The way to get a shine like that and to have it look polished without getting anywhere close to a buffer, it's kind of weird, but it works. The same envelope that I use for making strips when doing button work, this security paper, it's called, is multi-purpose stuff. It's very strong, high-grade paper, and paper's naturally abrasive at a very fine level. And if you put one of these envelopes on a flat surface and squizzle around the end of the shank a little bit, and voila. And if you do your part and don't, roll it over, you end up with a mirror-like surface without any risk. And naturally, I wouldn't have stopped where I did if I hadn't tested and gotten a good fit. Now, I'm going to show you how tight for the subsequent steps that we're going to shape this stem while it's attached to the stummel. And the last thing you want, it's a potential problem when dealing with these oddball shapes like diamonds and there's teardrops and ovals and stuff. You don't want to get them to turn on you while you're working, because you won't notice it until it's too late usually. So you can tell by watching me put this in about how tight I'm talking about here. And this is a little tighter than you would probably have as a regular thing. You can loosen up the fit just a hair when you're done with everything else as part of the final prep process. But I would suggest having it be on the tight side during any working while they're mated together. So there you go. I hope you could kind of tell from how hard I was pushing. Now you got to be careful. You don't want to go cracking the shank, and that unfortunately is a matter of just lots of experience and kind of know what it can take. But anyway, there we go. So this is in ready to shape condition. But that's not what we're going to do at this point. In order to know exactly what shape to put into the rubber, we need to get the shank squared away, which right now kind of bulges about right there. So the tools I would suggest are not what you would think. A lot of people think if you're going to be doing a flat area like this, use a big flat tool of some kind. You actually have more control, and control is the key. It's the magic word for all this stuff. If you choose something that's a bit narrower, these drugstore nail boards are good. All kinds of files are available, of course, down to, I think that one's ½ inch, and then you can get down to these little stick-shaped ones. And going side to side is what you don't want to start doing this thing, because that's just going to lower what's already too low. You want to keep your eye on where it's too high, and then just ever so gently start to remove some of that material. And I'll just dive right in here and let you watch it for a minute. And it's not going to take much. It's something where you don't want to start daydreaming and look down and realize you've cut a hammock-shaped deal there. We just already, just that much, brought it to within a good percentage of how far we want it to go. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Okay, and how we're going to keep this from looking like tools got to it as opposed to sand blasted sand, there's a special tool we have that'll take care of that, called a 3M bristle brush. I've used them before in these videos, but I'll go through it again when it's time to do so. Now, anybody who's been to my shop always remarks on how I put a white poster board under, just randomly, seemingly randomly around the shop on the walls, like they're blank photographs or something. And no, they're actually to have a white background to hold up something to see it in silhouette, because the walls here are naturally kind of beige and don't work too well. But it's something that control and incremental material removal is how this works. And the only way to really know what you're working with is to check it constantly, as often as you can force yourself to do so. It might take you longer before it's over with, but you can't go wrong. You won't go stepping on any landmines. At the moment, don't worry about getting the rollover and the texture in there. Just worry about getting the profile lined up. Remember, we're trying to minimize what the previous stem maker did when they ground down the end of the shank. We're trying to make that go away as much as we can. My apologies if I'm not keeping work centered in the frame here. It's harder than you would think to do that, just because it's all in close-up here. Okay, I'm going to shut off the camera and continue doing this step until I'm satisfied. You've seen what I'm doing, it's just more of it at this point. And then I'll turn it back on and we'll texture this and make it look convincingly like sandblast as opposed to hand carved.